Hey everybody, how you doing? I took a little break there, but I'm back out in the shop today. I've decided I want to work on my receiver. I'm tired of coming out to the shop and working, especially when I'm, working on the metal lathe over there. I'm not really filming, I'm learning. I'd like to have a little music in the background. It's always nice to have a little, you guys know how it is, have a little music in your shop. So we are going to take down this receiver, get it over on the table saw, and we're going to remove the top cover from it. And we're going to look it over and see if we can find any issues, visible issues with it. And then I've got a few things that have been sent to me by some folks who are more expert in electronics than I am, and just to see if we can get that thing running. So first order of business, get it off the ceiling and onto the bench. Step one is complete. I've got it down out of the rafters, and you can kind of see what I did. These are a couple of brackets. All three of them are brackets that literally came with my low-speed grinder, and I don't use them because I've got the CBN wheels on there, and it's set up for one task and one task only, and they were just taking up space in my one of my drawers. So I went ahead and drilled a couple of holes in the case and bolted this on, and these two mount against the the main beam, and then the third one mounts against this side beam and holds it up in the rafters. It does a nice job. I've not had an issue with it. You can see there's quite a bit of dust on this. I'm going to start by cleaning the dust off of it and blowing any of the dust out of it. Now, a little note, this sat on the floor down beside my lathe table for many, many years, and I know that it had a ton of chips, a ton of dust in it when I blew it out to put it up there and mount it and start using it. And probably also had some water drippings in there as I would take micro mesh pads back and forth to the shelf. So it's seen better days, but I'm going to go ahead and get the shell off of it, and we'll take a look at what the inside looks like and start blowing the dust out and just seeing what we can find. The top has been removed from the receiver. I have filled the air compressor tank, and I have an inline moisture filter, and I tested it, and there is no moisture that is coming out of the nozzle. This little yellow thing is something I made. We have those giant, they're like gerbil balls, but people can fit in them, and I didn't have a way to blow them up, so I used this little rubber cap and mounted it on here, and that lets me plug this right into the opening on the gerbil ball and blow them up. So it doesn't affect what I'm going to do here, but I'm just going to blow the dust out of it. Ooh, look at that. That is loose. I wonder if that might be part of my problem. It's not blown or anything because you can see the top is not swollen on it, but that seems awful loose. I'm not getting a lot of dust and dirt out of here. I think we'll call it quits with that. I expected more dust and dirt, but truth be told, I blew it out really good before I hung it, and it hangs up in here, so it's got this in front of it, and it's at an angle like this, so it's really not as open to the environment. I mean, the top has all of these vent holes, but it's really not as open to the environment as you might think. So that was a lot better than I thought. But yeah, hey man, I may have found something. That baby is, look at that. I mean, it's just so loose. What I'm going to do is I'm going to really inspect the board. I'm going to probably take this board out of here, flip it over, and check the solder joints on this, because that could be something that's wrong. And then I have some areas that I've been requested to test to see if I find anything, and I'm going to go back through that email, do that, and just see if we can get lucky and find anything at all that might be wrong with this that we can correct. I've taken all of the screws out of the receiver. Essentially, it would come out of the case. However, you can see a couple of zip ties. The cables are zip tied in. I didn't want to cut those because everything is dressed so nicely and it works perfectly, but that is literally all that is holding this in the case. If I were to cut those zip ties, this entire thing would come out. I could do that. If it becomes an issue, I will. I also think there are 4 screws here that hold this transformer in, but that is all that is keeping this in the case. If I need to, I'll cut them. I'd rather not. But if we come back over here, you can see this piece right here that's wiggly. And right here are the 2 contacts. And look at that one. There's like no solder on it. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got my welder. This runs on Ultratane. It is a nice little portable unit. I love it. And if I can get the cap off it with one hand. There we go. Got the tip on there ready to go. I need to tin the tip. I've got my solder back there. We're going to go ahead and get it fired up, tin the tip, and then we're going to drop a little bead of solder there and a little bead of solder there. Make sure that's nice and secure. Then I'm going to test. Now, the trick with this is I don't want to put it all back together to test. So I've got to make sure none of these contacts touch this metal case. So I probably will put like maybe a block of wood or something underneath of there to protect it. And then we're going to turn it on and test it and see if this helped. If not, well, we'll go on and try a few other things. But this is the first thing I noticed. So it's the first thing we're going to attempt to fix. I got that component soldered in, locked down. I put everything kind of back in the case. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I do have a board below this. There it is right there to keep it from touching any of the metal. I went and over here, I just basically twisted an extra wire to one of the wires. I didn't want to have to hang this thing or hold it up in the air to test it. And that's a really long wire that I could run down to the table and plug that into the speakers. And I test it left and right. And I get the same thing. It's almost like there's no bass whatsoever. It's all like if you turn the treble all the way up and the bass all the way down, that real tinny sort of sound, and there's zero volume. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to go back through this email that I've got, and I'm going to check a couple of the things that, the gentleman's name is slipping my mind. I'm going to check a couple of the things that he recommended, see if I find anything. If not, I'll come back, let you guys know. And then those of you who are my electronics aficionados out there, maybe can give me a couple of pointers on where to look next. So I will keep you posted. Okay, can you hear that? The receiver is set between 5 and 6. I should have some pretty good volume, but I've got none. I checked the board over as best as I could. I looked for anything that looked burnt, anything that smelled. I couldn't find anything that smelled burnt. I looked for cold solder joints. I can't find any. Nothing on the board. None of the little capacitors have a domed top. I don't think any of them are blown. I traced the wires from the speaker because input's working. I can plug an MP3 player up to it. I can plug my turntable. Sound goes in, sound comes out. There's just no volume. So I followed the wires back from the speaker mount or the block where you plug the speakers in, and I checked everything in that area. I can't find anything. It's got power. It remembers channels. You know, I had it unplugged for a while I was testing it and plugged it back in, and it remembered the channels that I had programmed when I did the first test. It works perfectly, except it's not pushing any decent sound or volume to the speakers. That's where I'm at. Now, I know some of you guys out there know your electronics. So I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me an email at rjbwoodturner@ufoww.com. Email's great because I'll be watching for it, and then I can, I can bring the emails out to the shop here with me and do the testing on the unit. But let me know. I'll do a quick shot of the overall board and everything, so you can see all the components. Let me know if you see anything that might be an issue. If you do, maybe you can pause the video and do like a screenshot of the video and maybe draw on it or something and say, hey, check this component or buy a new one of these or whatever. And I'll try to source those items and get them put in. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge to try to fix it. Will we get it fixed? Heck, I don't know. I mean, I think you ought to be able to fix it because 99% of the stuff works. So I think it'd be really cool to fix it, and I'd love you guys to help me. Let me flip around and show you what it looks like so that you guys can see the receiver, all the components in it, and maybe you can find something that might be the issue. Hang on one second. I don't know why I tell you to hang on 1 second because, I just turned the video off, turned the video back on, and you guys are there. You don't have to deal with all the moving. But let me start here. Okay, this is the front of the receiver. And as I look behind the receiver, I'm just going to start kind of showing the components. Here's the transformer. Got a Pioneer chip down there. You can see everything looks good. Check the fuse, no issue there. I'm just kind of moving around slowly, so if you see something, please pause the video and let me know. Not sure which one of these components would boost the sound. Okay, so that's the front of the unit. From behind, this is kind of in the way, but what we got right here, this is for your grounding for, I'm sorry, this is for your grounding. One of these, I think this is the antenna and this is the grounding for the turntable, I believe, or vice versa, but that's not an issue because the turntable will play into the unit. Then over here, we've got our phono in, CD, aux, we got our record out, and our play in. Those are all working. Here's the block for the left, for the channels A and B and then left and right speakers. I don't seem to have any issue with that. I mean, everything seems to work. As soon as I hit the button, I get power. I can hear everything. So I really think there's some component on here, one of these components, and I'm following this back. If you take a look at these black wires and follow them back, one of them goes here and one of them goes down here. Let me get you a better shot of that. So please, if you have any ideas, love to hear them. Thank you. Well, I have graduated from stereo receiver to frying pan. My wife has this frying pan, and there's a metal tongue in here, and a little arm, and that metal tongue presses up on that arm, so when you slide it on, it locks into place right there. Well, over the years, that little metal piece has basically rusted, and of course, when I pulled the end of it out, somewhere on the floor here, and I don't even see it, is the little bar that presses up. So I'm not going to be able to use that. So I think what I'm going to do is put this back on here, and I think I'm going to come back here through this metal and plastic, and I'm going to drill through right through the steel, and I'm going to put a bolt with a lock washer and a nut, and you know, then I'll grind the end of the bolt off so that it's not, you know, sticking out to where it would scratch a finger or something, but just enough so that she can still sort of use this pan. I think that'll be good enough to fix it. It may not be pretty, but you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're just using it for cooking something on the stove, and functional is more important than form in this case. So I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'll keep you posted and let you know if I have any luck. By no means is this pretty. She's got to have a couple of nuts on there. I used lock washers, and I jammed 2 nuts on there so that it didn't come loose. But the pan is fixed and it is usable. And really, her hand is never down here anyway. It's always back here, so I don't think she'll mind so much as long as she has her pan back. Not too bad. I'm happy with that. I mean, it's not great, but it's functional. Well, guys, that's going to be it for me tonight. I am happy that I was able to get that pan fixed. I took it into my wife, and she was ecstatic. She was actually loading stuff in the dishwasher. Took it straight out of my hands and put it right in the dishwasher so that it can be washed up. And yeah, I'm calling it quits. I'll be back out probably tomorrow to goof around a little bit, but I'm gonna get in the house. I'll edit this footage, and then I've got some things I want to do in the house. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully some of you guys can give me some info on that stereo. Thanks. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you soon.